Welcome to Season 3 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Craigoff, the choice of champions.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. I'm your host, Zach Nannini, and we are live here with Mr. Richard Marshall Jr. and our good friend, Mr. Robert Hight. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Ricky, would you mind introducing Robert since you guys have known each other for a long time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, a lot of you have seen Robert Hight around, but Robert Hight, he is a race car legend, race driver legend, I guess. But Robert is from Spanish Fork, Utah. So, and he has shot since 1985. Now, not every year in there, but he was first registered targets with the ATA in 85, but I think with PITA before that, because you did shoot a lot of PITA.
Yeah, I think a year before, in 84, I shot some PITA. That's what they had where I grew up in Northern California.
Yeah. So Robert hails, though, from the Northern California area. Hence, that's why he was, shot a lot with Sean Hawley back in the day. So, but Robert's been a friend of mine for a long time, but he shot with me a little bit here and there over the years. And now he is retired out of racing. So he's now in the shooting world again. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I'm not used to doing these things. Used to do these all the time. And I think it's been 2 years since I've done any kind of interview.
Nice.
Well, it's not very often that we get to have professionals on the show like yourself. So if you got any tips for me and Ricky to get better at what we're doing, you let us know, like the interview secrets. I mean, we're trying our best, though.
No, yeah. Leslie and I, my wife Leslie and I, we watch every week, every episode, and we enjoy it. You guys do a great job.
Well, thanks. We appreciate that.
Thank you. So starting off, Robert, I know, you obviously have a very big career, or had a big career in the racing car industry. Let's focus on shooting. How'd you get into shooting, and what made you love it so much that you're coming back now?
So I started as a kid in Northern California, and I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. Like I said, we had PITA up there, a little small town in Northern California. Actually, Bullard has talked to me about where I grew up. He shot there. Little
really?
five trap club, and anyway, I fell in love with it. It was addicting. But unfortunately, life gets in the way. I went to college and then went on to race for 32 years. And so I really only got to shoot limited. I'd try to get to the Grand as much as I could every year just to see old friends. But I never shot great because, I didn't get to do it a lot. I was so focused on racing and all that I really don't have that many targets. But the last couple of years, I've been hitting it hard and getting better and enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, and Zach, let's back up a little bit. We are in the shooting world as we do, but let's talk a little bit about Robert's racing career, because he, like you said, he was in it for 32 years and he was a 3-time champion, funny car champion. And then you won 65 Wallies, which for all the, non-racers out there, that's the big trophy from each race you go to that you can win. And then also with that, you get hats, don't you? Winter Circle hats, I think it is.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
lots of Winter Circle hats.
Yeah. So 65 Wallies, which is third all time. Is that just in funny car, or is that in overall racing?
In funny car.
So, but I've actually been to Robert's old house in Yorba Linda, California, and he had all them Wallies set up in his man cave with those checks that, Zach, the checks he got were more than we can make shooting in 5 years.
That's a really, really, really big Martin Lewis.
Yeah, very, very, very big Martin Lewis. And how each check, were they $500,000 checks?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
There's some pressure there, in 2017, when I won the championship, came down to the last run of the year, Matt Hagan and I, and it was winner take all. And that's when you've got a team behind you, it's one thing to be out shooting and you miss a target, it's it just affects you, right? But when you're on a race team, you've got a lot of guys that have prepared a perfect race car for you, and the whole team back at the shop in Indianapolis that builds all the parts and everything that we do. uh, that adds a little bit to the pressure.
Well, and speaking of that, so who was your crew chief your whole career? What was it?
Mostly Jimmy Prock.
Jimmy Prock, yeah.
Yeah.
Which his son then race took over after you had retired and stuff. But yeah, and I'd been to plenty of races. Zach, did you ever get to a race at all? I don't think
I've
you ever
never
did,
been to
did you?
one. So
Yeah.
I didn't know Robert was famous until people told me he was famous. That's Robert, Like I'm not a big race car guy. I said, he's working on his singles. He's getting where he needs to be, but I guess he drives pretty good.
Well, he was at one time the fastest man in a funny car, or fastest man of any car at one time, correct?
Yes, in drag racing.
In
Yes.
drag racing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was something to see. And, a good friend of mine, which is a good friend of Robert's, Joey Hill from Easy Go. I got them two together, and Easy Go was a sponsor of John Force Racing. And, but Joey is from Ohio. So when we'd always go to the Ohio State shoot, Robert would come up and shoot with us for a day or two and then have to go race. And then we would go up, and my brother-in-law, Jody's twin, who God rest his soul, passed away, but he loved racing. He loved watching John Force and loved watching Robert and hanging out. And it was always fun. But the pressure, when people talk about pressure and shooting, but when Robert just said that, when you got a whole team of, how many's on your team, Robert? Probably 20?
Yeah, I mean it's 8 guys that work on the car, and then you have 2 crew chiefs, and then we shared with other teams. John Force usually had 4 teams, so you kind
Yeah.
of all work together. And then there's a big shop back in Indianapolis that builds all the parts and the chassis and all that kind of stuff. You've got a lot of people behind you that are relying on you to get the job done.
Need you to win that check.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that's got to be something for sure. And to speak on the matter, since I don't know much, and I'm sure some of our listeners don't know much, what's the difference between funny cars and regulars? Like, what's going on? If you could describe it to people that haven't heard.
Yeah, okay. So there's in the professional ranks, there's top fuel dragsters, there's funny cars, and then there's pro stock and pro stock motorcycles. But top fuel and funny car basically run the same engine, and they're 12,000 plus horsepower. And dragsters are a little lighter, and they go a little quicker than a funny car. They're long, but a funny car is short and 125-inch wheelbase, and they don't want to go straight. You've got to manhandle this thing and get it down the track, keep it in the middle where the best traction is available. And you're going 0 to 100 in less than a second. And then at the 8th mile, which is halfway down, I've gone as fast as 265 miles an hour. And then 339.87 was my fastest speed at the finish line. So it happens in a hurry, but there's a lot goes on in 3.7 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Zach. Did
it's
I ever
exciting.
show you? Did I ever show you the video, Zach? That I was at Ohio, and it was one of Robert's last races, I think, in Ohio, wasn't it?
I think it might have been my last year there.
It
Yeah.
was the last year there at Norwalk, and I got the opportunity to go on the track with Leslie and walk up behind the car and the team and sit there when he took off from a race. And I can tell you, your soul leaves your body not once but twice from the G forces of, it's like standing behind an airplane almost. It's weird. It was just like, I'd never, been involved with it. So, but Leslie's like, just breathe. That's all she kept telling me, and I'm like, okay. But it was very interesting. And it was just like, whoa. And the concussion you get, from it. So for the listeners out there, that if you've never been to a race, go to a race. They're fun. The drivers, that's why Robert's so approachable, is from that racing stuff, because Zach, you would have loved it. We'd like to people watch, and you could sit there and all types of fans come up, and he's just so nice to everybody, and John was that way for us when he was racing.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the times we were there at Norwalk, and Bobby Chambers was with me, and it rained out, and that was Trey's first race, and you had given him a winter circle hat. And when we left, he's like, Dad, this is a champion's hat. I said, yeah. And that guy, we're walking out and the guy's like, hey kid, how much you want for that hat? Trey's like, I'm like, we ain't selling no hat, son. So he's still
not for sale.
Not for sale, but it's one of those sports that it's just awesome. And that's why, Robert has the experience with pressure. I mean, he's racing for millions of dollars and we're shooting for, tens of thousands of dollars. They're a little different.
Yeah, it's exciting. A funny car, you have the engine in front of you. It's more dangerous because those things do blow up from time to time. I've had some big explosions and crashes, and I don't have to worry about my shotgun blowing up, especially if I do the work, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
no, that is true. I mean, and just to wrap my head around that, and to answer your question, Rick, I never seen the video. I haven't ever watched one of Robert's races. I mean, I've never seen it, and I'm not a big race car guy. I think one time in my life, when I was at Lindenwood, we went to a NASCAR race, and it was at a shoot with the whole team. That's the only thing I've ever really experienced, and I thought that was pretty cool, and I could feel the vibrations of it, but not not like what you guys are talking about. It's nothing like that, and I'd love to
compare.
I would love to see that someday. If there's ever an opportunity to go check that out, I would be all in for that.
Yeah, it's something to just experience the cars going by, especially, top fuels are different and the pro stocks are at, but the funny cars, you get two of them going side by side at 300 mile an hour plus past you in the stands. You're at a race. It's not like NASCAR.
You can feel the earth shake. I mean, it rattles. So I started
Robert,
as a mechanic. That's how I got into it. Is I started as a mechanic, and I was a mechanic for 12, 13 years, and then started driving in 2005. And I, even at the end, I still like to work with my team and get my hands dirty on the car and be involved on the mechanical side. All the PR and marketing stuff wasn't my favorite.
I have a couple questions. How hard and how much does reflexes and all that stuff come into it to become like a professional driver like this? Like, do you have like lightning fast reaction time? Or I know you said you were a mechanic. How do you shift from mechanic to driver?
Yeah, you have to be quick. Reaction time is everything. But it's different in shooting too. It's like you can't just see a target and just snap at it and shoot. You got to see it good and all that. So it's a different approach, cutting a light and reacting to what's going on with the car and shooting a target. It's totally different. You would if you acted the same way shooting that you do, leaving the starting line, you'd be a spaz. You'd be all over the place and miss targets.
You look like Ian Lawrence out there tap dancing.
Well, you look like Joey Charnigo,
Yes, not so slow Joe. He lets them off. He might be the Robert Hight of trap shooting in our world, as fast as he shoots them. He's fastest man I've ever seen with a shotgun, but I never got the chance of witnessing Robertson. But yeah, he'd probably be good
at reaction times, yes.
So if you were to articulate some of the pressure situations that you've been in a race car, and obviously you love to shoot, and now you're getting back to it. And I've seen you shoot some pretty big scores, and you're getting better. I mean, is there anything that you learn from race car driving that helps in the mental game of trap, or is there any overlay, or is it like completely different? Nothing computes.
It really doesn't. It should, but it doesn't.
I just love the way they're covering all the shoots across the country, the content, the pictures, what they're doing online, what they're doing on Facebook, Instagram. What do you think?
Yeah, Trap Shooting USA. It's a great magazine. They are the official magazine of our podcast, and we are the official podcast of Trap Shooting USA. So we really appreciate it.
That's really cool. And what they got is a deal right now. If you put Trap Talk P in for the print version and Trap Talk D for the digital version, It's $19.99 for the print and $9.99 for the digital for 1 year. You're not going to find a better deal, so subscribe today. You won't regret it.
Absolutely. Thank you for all the support.
You know, Rick, the only thing that looks better than these hats we're wearing right now is a bunch of gold and silver from Ron Prescott at Mid-State Precious Metals. Show them the goods.
Listen, all I got silver right now. I won't bring the gold out for Zach. But
you know, I always want to get that gold.
Shotgun shells, 10-ounce bars, folks. He can do anything for you for all your shoot needs. Give Ron Prescott a call. MidStatePreciousMetals.com.
He's a great guy. Support him. He supports all the shoots. He supports Trap Talk. If you're thinking gold or silver, you need to be thinking Ron Prescott at Mid-State Precious Metals. Thank you, Ron.
That's right. Thanks for all the support.
You know, Rick, I just love having the peace of mind of knowing that if I'm traveling or I'm flying, something happens, I can get my Winnig and my Krieghoff replaced quickly and easily without costing me a bunch of money.
Yeah, exactly. The gun and trophy insurance, it's the best out there to insure your guns, insure your trophy animals, everything.
Thank you to the whole Cushman family for supporting the show and everything they do for trap shooting.
Absolutely. Get a hold of Cole Cushman and he'll get you set up.
Basically, you know, I had a routine in the car, and you know, you've got to focus and pay attention. That car can hurt you, you know, and you have to do the same thing every single time, which is how you should shoot too. You know, not change a thing, be the same every shot. But you have to do the same thing in the car to keep it consistent. You know, if I'm on and off the clutch too much, it gets too hot and it's not going to perform well. And, you know, the length of your burnout and everything, trimming the fuel back, all the things you have to do precisely every single run. So all that kept my mind occupied. You know, it wasn't like you didn't have time to be nervous about, you know, racing for a big win or a championship or something like that. Yet I kept my mind occupied. And then when you're driving, you know, even though it's only, you know, 3.7 seconds, it seems like an eternity when you're doing it. You know, there's just so much going on in that short period of time. And, you know, sometimes it actually, if you hadn't been in the car for 2 or 3 months over the winter and you come back, you know, in January and start racing and testing, you'd go make a run, and then 30 minutes later, something would come to you. It's like, wow, that just happened, because it happens faster than your brain can process sometimes. You know, you're going so fast. But the more you do it, the more you get your eyes where they need to be, the more you slow it down. And like I said, a 3.7 second run feels like it's 10 seconds with all that's packed into it.
Well, yeah. You know, that's wonderful that you shared that. And I think there's a lot of overlay from what I'm hearing, because I know nothing about race car driving and I know very little bit about shotgun shooting, but I'm learning every day. But what I will say is, you know, with what you said with your processes, that seems exactly like when I'm talking to Dagan Voigtman, like he does it the same every single time. Like it has to be consistent. And then what you said about it going by in 3.7 seconds, but feeling like eternity. I mean, I've had shots where, you know, you're shooting it, but it's almost like you're out there forever. And it's like the last 5 or the last 10 to break a big score, or, you know, a pressure shoot off or something in that, where everything just slows down and you're micro aware of everything that's going on. And I think
exactly.
I guess
you
that's
can slow a target down with your eyes. You get them in the right spot. You can slow a target down. And that's the same with driving a race car. You know, when it's going 330 miles an hour, you can't have your eyes driving at the front of the car. It is going faster than your brain can process. So you get your eyes way down there, and now you start noticing, you know, everything going by and, you know, what's going on. It slows it way down. And that's all your eyes.
Yeah. Speaking of that, when you're looking, so are you looking all the way down at the end of the racetrack pretty much then?
Yes, you have to.
Okay.
You have to get your eyes and your brain out in front of that race car so that it slows down.
Interesting. That's what I wondered. I was going to ask you that one time, because your peripheral vision, you have to have great peripheral vision, because that's kind of what you're seeing is going down the racetrack then. Pretty much.
Correct. And, you know, you're feeling what the car's doing. If it's about to smoke the tires or, you know, spin, you've got to feel that and catch it and, you know, be quick with the throttle and the brake and get it back under control to try to win.
Now, and speaking of that, so going back, because you were a mechanic on the team. Now, weren't you John's clutch man at one
Yep, for a
time
lot of
too?
years. Yep.
For a lot of years, because
Yep.
that's when I met you in Vandalia, because you had a John Force Racing shirt on, and I was talking to you, and I got on the trolley, and I was going away, and this guy's like, "You know who you're talking to?" And I was like, "Man," I said his name was Robert. And I was like, my dad was a big, John Force fan. So I said, yeah, we were just talking about racing a little bit. And he's like, you don't know who that was? I'm like, he said his name was Robert. And he's like, that's Robert Hight. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, he's John Force's clutch man. And I was like, oh. So then it was like the next day, because you were only there, I think, that time for maybe like 3 or 4 days. So it was either the
Right.
next day or the day after. I seen you again. I was like, hey, thanks for letting me stick my foot in my mouth. And I didn't say no, but you were like, nah, but you don't like advertise like, hey, I've worked for John. And then it was shortly after that is when then you started racing. But what got you in the car versus working on it? Was that John?
Yeah, John kept pestering him and bugging him, and would always ask questions about, what's it like, and what did that feel like, and what was that run like, and finally he gave me a shot. He first said that, to go to Frank Hawley's school, and I
Yeah.
drove an alcohol funny car, and right after that I started getting in John's car on Mondays and testing, and then it's like, man, you're hooked, and
You were
it's.
pretty good at it too.
uh, I had a really good team, and that's what it takes is, a lot of good people behind you.
Yeah, and John Force. I mean, I was fortunate because of you, Robert, to meet him, and I remember being out there at the shop with you that time. You were in a meeting. I was sitting downstairs eating an egg McMuffin back when I did eat egg McMuffin, Zach, and he come walking in, and he like looked at me. I said hello. He said hello, and he went by, and he come back. Then he's like, are you being helped? I'm like, and I wanted to say so bad, no, I just need a place to eat my sandwich. And I said, yeah, I'm here with Robert. He goes, oh, you're a trap shooter. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? And he's like, yeah, Robert told me you were going to be here. He's like, go hang out, go look around. And I did. I looked at his car collection upstairs, and I was like, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he was. It was quite funny, but then we went to a couple races, and I know we brought Bruce Davis and his wife up to the race the one time, and Ian was there and his mom, and
Yep.
then everybody we had because I got that picture of all of us there, and everybody's like, "You guys went to the races? How was?" I'm like, "It's a blast." So it was always a ton of fun, and you were so successful in racing, and then what's it been 2 years now? You've been retired.
Yeah. Yep.
So you retired 2 years, and now you're back into shooting full time. Of course, you're remarried to your lovely wife Leslie, which I've known Leslie for God 30 years, probably maybe 20 some years, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's cool because she's one of the top lady shooters if not the top lady shooter in Utah.
Yeah.
So but I did see you were beating her a little bit there, so that's good. You need to.
No, I've got my hands full. So we met in 2020. Our team didn't race. Sponsors, with COVID, they didn't want to spend the big money advertising, so we didn't race. We sat out. So I got to go to Vernal, to the Western Grand, and that's where I met Leslie. So it's
Okay.
if COVID hadn't happened, I'm not sure I would ever met her.
No,
Yeah, because she didn't. Yeah.
it's amazing how little things like that happen in life, and you take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's wonderful. So Robert, you've obviously won a lot of big titles. Is there anyone that sticks out in your mind as your biggest title or your most? I guess the one you would say this is the one I'm most proud of.
I guess it has to be my first championship. That's it's one of those things that you don't get validated whether you can actually do it until you do it, and there's always an element of doubt in the back of your mind until you actually win a championship or win a race, and then wow, now I know I can do it, and you have more confidence. So I guess winning my first championship, that's probably the most special. It's pretty cool.
When was that?
That was 2009.
Okay.
Wow.
So
And I've
so
been
so
runner up.
really,
I've been runner up so many times.
11
I've
years in a
got
car is what you did. 11 years driving, and that was
No,
the
I think I was 19 seasons in a car. So I started in '05, and then in 24 was my last year.
okay.
Wow.
Well, That's awesome, man. That's a long career.
Yeah, no, I was very fortunate. But I'm
So
loving what I'm doing now. It's a whole different pace, but it's I'm enjoying it.
yeah, I mean a shotgun shell goes pretty fast, but it's not like a race car like that. Like when you're riding on a rocket. I mean, it's got to feel like you're just taking off on a missile.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's 6 Gs, and you leave the starting line at 6 Gs, and then it goes out there and it slows down a little, and then as it locks the clutch up in the middle of the racetrack, you're back up at 5 6 Gs, and that's. Do I miss the racing? Yeah, I do. I miss the competition on Sunday, but everything else that goes along with it, I don't miss a lot of that.
Well, that's good.
Lot
Well,
of
that
headache.
you heard it here first, folks. So for you, there must have been some kind of burning desire in your heart about shooting because I mean, at this point in your life, you could go do anything you want to do. Like you could go, go play with wine or go to France or wherever, right? I mean, you're shooting trap like the rest of everybody else. What made you want to come back?
I like everything about it. I like the friends you make, the camaraderie. A lot of great people. You know, if you're a competitor, you're always wanting to get better. You always, I can do this. I want to get better. I want to shoot good. It's a something that, it's just a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
pushing yourself.
so yeah,
Well,
I listen to you guys all the time. You got to have goals, and slowly, work and have them be realistic. And so, just always trying to get better.
and honestly, with racing, you are very competitive. I mean, I've watched you at the races where you're doing good, and someone be like, "Hey, let's go over there." I'm like, "Nope, I stay away." The boys when they were younger, it always like, "Hey, Dad, let's go up there." I'm like, "Let's let him. He's working." All those other people talk to him. I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's just a quick deal." I said, "You guys want to go have a conversation?" So, but you are very competitive, and then in shooting, it's very competitive, but it is one of those things where you can, be competitive for 30 minutes and then go relax for a couple hours and then be
Exactly.
competitive, so it's a little different pace. Now, going back though, you went to college. Now, did you go to college for any machining stuff or was that just, you just did
Nope.
that?
Just,
Okay.
just yeah. No.
Okay.
Business and
Yep.
accounting is what I took, and I regret not taking some classes for mathematics and machining and maybe more of a trade type of a background. Because later on in life, even as a mechanic on the race cars, you need all that stuff. So I, kind of had to learn on the fly.
Yeah. But you did pretty good at it,
It didn't
as
slow
we
you
could
down
tell.
any, Robert, literally
No.
and figuratively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that is true. So but being a machinist, a mechanic and doing what you love doing that. Now fast forwarding into Shotgun Works, which is so when you purchased Tommy Wilkinson's business, Wilkinson, Barrel Works, but you still signed because I just got my sporting barrel back, and you'll be getting my trap barrels here soon. But my sporting barrel, then it's signed Wilkinson slash H. So let's talk a little bit. What made you want to purchase Wilkinson, or get into that business? I guess.
So I met Tommy a lot of years ago.
Oh yeah.
I used to shoot with Ray Stafford a little bit, and he and Tommy were great friends. So I got to shoot with Tom a few times, and just always like to pick his brain. I like mechanical things, and he was very very smart guy.
Oh yeah.
And Tom's kind of an engineer. He's come up with a lot of cool things to make shotguns pattern better and all that. So I did plant the seed with him a few years ago. That I thought the end of my career was coming up, and if he ever thought about selling his business, and then finally at the beginning of this year he said he was ready. He was ready to do it. And so Leslie and I purchased the business. I spent quite a few weeks back in North Carolina learning, because Tom, he's been doing it 40 years. He could do
Yeah.
it with his eyes closed. So there's a lot to absorb and take in. And, I still talk to Tom daily. If I
Okay.
get hung up or something comes in that I have a question about, he's just a phone call away. So he's a wealth of knowledge, and, I have huge shoes to fill.
Rick, when you're riding around in your air conditioning and your nice Can-Am and I'm walking, I'm thinking to myself, where do I get one of these things at?
Big Red Motorsports. That's where you get one. George or Jason Lee, they'll take care of you, Zach.
I mean, I need one. I'm tired of riding on the back of that cooler. I want to sit inside that cab and roll around in style. I mean, my face is on the back, but help me out.
Listen, I'm going to move your face to the bumper is where it's going to get moved for the new one, okay? All you need is a little quiche, and we can take care of you. But listen, BigRedMotorsports.com. Thanks, Jason and George Lee and Big Red Motorsports for all the support. They'll take care of you, folks, and it's free delivery. Yeah.
This guy has, like I said, he could do a barrel with his eyes closed, and they turn out perfect. He's a perfectionist too. He wanted things leaving his shop better than they came in. And
Yeah.
so, I learned all of that, and I'm having a blast doing it. Love this, and has been busy. I think it's helped having my racing background, and people kind of associate what it takes, to have a winning race car and all of that engineering and precision. So they expected that from Tom. So if it I always wondered, are people going to trust me like they did Tom? I've got to build my name and, get a reputation. So far, it's been really, really good. And actually had to send a barrel to Tom, this past, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that I had done the work on. And Tom was also going to bend it up for the customer, because he didn't teach me that. He says,
Yeah.
you don't want to go there. You don't want to learn that. So I was honestly pretty nervous about sending this barrel to Tom after I had done the work on it. And it was
Yeah.
just a back boring job, and I recut a choke in it. And so I was ready. It's like, okay, critique it. Okay. And, he gave me the thumbs up. So that helped my confidence too.
It kind of solidified
It's,
you a
it's
little
like
bit.
winning your first championship all over again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
When your coach and your teacher, approves, it's like, all right, that's validation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that is something because, years ago, Tommy had done my barrels on a gun I had shot, and the other brand that I used to shoot. And he just did awesome work, And then when I switched and started shooting Craigoffs, they were all factory choke tubes. And I was like, I shot them good. But, I did get I will say this, I haven't had a chance to get out and shoot the barrel because it's been so cold here. But I am supposed to go leave this weekend and go to a private event, and I'm going to shoot it. But when it came back, Zach, I think I showed you the picture, it comes back in a nice gun sleeve,
You did.
all wrapped up. It was clean. I was like, God, my barrel's clean now. Don't know what to do because I'm not
It
used
looked
to
so
cleaning the
nice.
barrel.
I called Robert and I said, "Hey, what do I got to do to get my barrels over there?" He says, "You just got to send them." And I said, "Well, I might have to do that sooner than later because I'm excited." And I've always I got a lot of questions for Robert, but I always loved Wilkinson's work. So for me, I was born in San Jose, California, lived there, started my shooting career there, and a lot of the greatest shooters in California had Wilkinson barrel work. And like one of them that I really aspired to watch and learn from was Dave Kelly. And when he hit a target, I was just like, I can't hit a target that hard. There's nothing I can do to hit a target that hard. And I would get pissed off because I'm like,
Because you were shooting skeet chokes.
yeah, hey, they were some version of skeet choke for sure. But whatever Wilkinson did to Dave Kelly's barrels, I mean, it was like on the 27-yard line, he was shooting singles. Like he was just like hanging ink clouds in there, and he got it, dialed in the way it needs to be. So leading into my question, for the people that don't know what you're doing, could you walk us through like the steps and the processes and what you're actually doing? Because like they send a barrel, well, what's that mean? What are the things that are being done that makes it so much better?
Yeah. So it's all about pattern efficiency. And a lot of the European guns, their bores are not straight, number one. Okay? They're tapered from one end to another. So back boring is all about, straightening up the barrel. And Tom was famous for years and years, before he came out with his choke tubes, for just back boring and cutting new fixed chokes into a barrel. So he has all the reamers and everything to do all that. That we purchased all that from him. So you basically are reaming and cutting a new choke in, and Parazzis are horrible for that. Their chokes are really long and they vary where they
Mm-hmm.
start, everything else. So, having the correct length choke and the correct bore size, and then leading into the entry angle and then the parallel section of the choke, having all that in tune and the correct length will produce a better pattern. And then, the back boring, you're basically getting rid of friction. Okay. If the bore is too tight, there's friction. So back boring will actually increase the velocity. And, the number one thing for patterns, no matter what you're doing, is shooting shotgun shells with a high antimony shot, hard shot. If you're shooting the cheap stuff, basically it's deforming inside the barrel, and they call it setback deformation. And then if it deforms, it's not going to fly straight.
Okay.
So basically, that's what you do with a fixed choke. Backbore it, cut a new choke, blend everything, and then Tommy later on came out with his own choke tube, and that really patterns well because everything is precise and machined, and you're still backboring it, and then if you look in the end of a barrel when the choke screw is screwed in, like some of the Kraigoffs, you see a pretty big step in there into the choke, and that's for safety.
Mhm.
You got to have a little bit of a step. The choke can't stick inside the bore and interfere. You'll spit it out and ruin the barrel. But the least amount of step you have there, and the nice smooth entry angle into the barrel, that's going to produce a better
Better.
pattern. So yep. So that's what you do with a Krieghoff is you backbore it and then basically refit the chokes, and it's a very, very small step, and the pattern will increase. It'll be better, and you'll have more of a more dense pattern in 30 inches. Very little outside a 30-inch circle.
Nice.
I want to break this down a little bit because you said so much, and I'm learning so much as we're speaking on this.
You just blew his mind.
My brain just went poof, right? So for the people listening today, the tightness of the barrel dictates pressure. I mean, and that's common sense. So by alleviating some of that barrel, you're allowing the shell to get faster for one, and then for two, with your transitions being smooth and subtle, it's not ramming things in, kind of like when you have a garden hose and you're pushing the water through the end and it's going spraying out the sides. You're talking about a smooth transition with your payload. Is that correct?
Yeah, you want everything to flow correctly, flow really nice into the choke. And, you can go too big too. You can go, open the bore up too much to where you lose wad seal. And you'll notice that on a cold day, it sounds funny. So there is a sweet spot there that, will optimize, the velocity and the pattern.
Now here's
And
another
so one
question. Do
question.
you go? Sorry, Ricky. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
We'll edit
No,
that part
so
out.
yeah. So one question, Robert, on there is so when you like I got my barrel back and you stick it up into a light and look, and it is an absolute mirror. Like perfect. Is that you polish that barrel? What does that do?
Yeah, so I hone it. You have a couple different grits of stones on your hone. One of them's to cut and get it to the correct size, and then there's a finer stone to, more of a polish, and then you do some sanding with some mandrels that Tom built to really make the finish like a mirror.
Yeah, because that's
And
what I noticed. It was
yeah,
like I'm like, wow, this thing's gonna be clean. I didn't even want to shoot it. I mean, it's, but and then your chokes, I got the chokes because you did God, I think you did 6 chokes for me too. And they were all, I mean, folks, they're all lasered, you know, everything. Shotgun works, the restriction on it and everything. So it turned out just awesome, but the shine, that's where I was like, okay, this thing's going to pattern really well. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think you'll
So
like it.
here's a
Yeah.
technical question. We're talking about payload delivery in a 30-inch circle. And I don't know if there's exact math or data to this, but if you were to say what is a barrel, like if we shot, let's just say there's 400 pellets in a shell, and we shot at a circle and a barrel's not done, it gives X amount of pellets. And then a barrel's done and it gives Y amount of pellets. What's the differential? I mean, is it a 5% increase? Is it a 10% increase? Is it less flyers? I mean, is there any numbers behind this or?
So it's no, there's not really numbers. You're going to have less flyers outside of a 30-inch circle, and you're going to have it spread out more evenly. You're not going to have that hot center to where it's just, you're throwing a softball out there. You want it more spread out and even. And that's what barrel work does.
You want
Definitely.
it uniformed
Yes.
throughout. Now, is there so I remember Tommy years ago talking to him, and it was like, if you can get 90+% in the circle, that 30-inch circle, that's like great.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I live in Utah, and it's 4,500 feet here, so the patterns don't open up as much up here as they do, at sea level or when you're at the Grand, where there's a lot of humidity, all that. So patterning here and patterning at the Grand are two different things. But if you can make it better here, it's going to be better there as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if the Grand, you could probably need to go a little tighter on chokes than you do up here in Utah and Colorado and some of the higher states.
That's hence why the one year at the Western Grand, Ryan Glow was there the only time, and he was shooting a super full, and you could see the shot. And I'm like, Ryan, you're throwing a baseball at the target, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, take that super full out, and go to a full or even an iMod or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, I shoot a full there, but I've always shot one there. So
Yeah.
So Robert, I don't want to glance over that because you just said a lot, and a lot of people might not even think of that. The difference between the elevation and the height in Utah is different than shooting at the Grand. Now, why is that?
The air density. Up here we're thin air. It's kind of like racing. When we
that's
would go to Denver and race, the engines don't run good. They don't get any air in them. And so you've got to change the fuel volume, the blower's overdrive speed. You got to retune everything at higher altitudes. Well, it's same with a shotgun. If the air's thin, there's no resistance to kind of open the pattern up.
And
Whereas when
that's
you go to
fantastic information.
thick air, if it's like cold, cool air at sea level, a pattern's going to open up. Or when you guys have back there, you guys have a lot of humidity. Well, that also it opens the pattern up.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, here in St. Louis, it gets so bad. You sometimes you go outside and you think you just got out of the shower. You're just like, oh, this is a little steamy out here. You're like a little hot. But so if we can equate that to shooters listening, and whether they have barrel work or don't, maybe they're going from Utah to the Grand. Is there a magic rule of how many choke tubes you move for each place? Like, would you say it's like 5 thousandths more at the Grand and 5 thousandths less at Vernal, or what would your personal expertise be on that?
Hey Zach, have you been out to 73 Pointers Ranch lately?
I have. Rick and Carla Burke have been great. I normally hunt pheasants and chucker down there, but now they got a brand new sporting clays facility, and it is top notch. I shot it the other day, absolutely loved it, and if you guys haven't, you need to go give it a check out.
Well, I'll have to come out and do a little hunting, and we'll shoot some sporting clays then.
45 minutes from St. Louis Airport. Come see it. If you haven't, guys, check them out. Ricky, I know you used it on your barrels, but do you even know what RGS stands for?
No, Zach, what does it stand for?
Really good.
Well, that is true. It is good stuff, folks. I use it to clean my barrels, and it does make them shine.
Only problem is I wear white t-shirts when I clean my barrels and I get them all messy, so I got to be better at that, but it gets all the plastic, all the gunk out, Give them a try, folks. They're great.
That's right. Give RGS a try. We appreciate all the support.
You know, Rick, when you're walking down the line, you see smoke ball after smoke ball after smoke ball. What are you thinking in your head?
I'm thinking there's some good set targets, and they got to be a white flyer.
They got to be white flyer. I mean, we were just at Nevada State shoot. We were shooting these things from the 27-yard line. They looked like 16-yard smoke balls, and I'm like, only a white flyer can smoke like that, and we love them, and they've been supporting the show since day one.
That's right. Thanks for all the support, white flyer.
You know, Rick, I was at the Autumn Grand and the Nevada State shoot, and I was just really impressed with how I could see where my squad was, when I was up, just the technology, the ability to be able to see what options I've played, if the event's paid or not. I mean, what's your experience with the app?
Listen, SOS Clay's app, it's the best thing out there, folks. You can see everything. It's great. You can see your option payouts. You can see when you're up. You can see who's paid on your squad. Sometimes Zach doesn't pay on time, but it's okay.
I get out there, but what I really think is for gun clubs, it's free. Call Greg, get a hold of him. He'll set you up. He'll get you running right. And if you pay the premium once a year, you get free pre-squatting in all the shoots, and that's the best value in trap shoot.
Absolutely. SOSClays.com.
I think what you just said is very, very close. 5,000ths. You know, you can shoot a 35 thousandths choke for the 27-yard line, a full choke, you know, at the Grand and places where there's thick air. But it doesn't hurt to go to a 30 thousandths choke here at Spanish Fork.
Okay.
No. Yeah, higher
that makes a
elevation,
lot of
you
sense.
open up a little bit. Yeah, because I'll get a lot of students, especially when it's humid, they're shooting a mod. And they're like, God, I look like I was on that. I said, well, it's so humid out. Your choke's opening up. I said, so you need to tighten that choke. And, you know, I get some parents that are like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, because you're going to have a lot of holes in that choke, you know, and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it really does make a difference what shell, what choke, what distance, where they're breaking the target. Like, all of that matters. Reflex time matters. All of it comes into a shot. I guess, you know, and this is, I know what mine and Ricky's answer is on the choke question, but for you, Robert, would you say there's, like, if you were going to say, okay, this is the perfect choke for singles, this is the perfect choke for doubles each shot, and this is the perfect choke for handicap, what would you personally recommend?
Well, I'm you know, basically going off what Tom Wilkinson has done all the testing and years of experience. And, you know, a 25 thousandths choke for singles, which is an improved modified, and 35 for a long yardage handicap shooter. And then doubles, you know, 15 thousandths for the first shot and 25 for the second shot.
Yeah, and I shoot 15 and 25 in my barrels for doubles for sure. I pretty much just leave the 35 thousandths in all the time. I guess if you were going to say, hey, we're going to leave a choke tube in the single barrel and you're going to go from coast to coast, New York to California, would you put in a 30 or would you put in a 35?
Probably 35 if you're going to shoot everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
you heard it here, folks.
I think if you're going to shoot all of the different weathers, all of the different, you know, circumstances, high altitude, low altitude, you know, rain, snow, clear day, I mean, that's a do-it-all choke. But I think there is something to be said about what he's saying here and having, you know, go to Utah. Okay, well, if I'm shooting 30 thousandths, it's like I'm shooting 5 thousandths because of that resistance there. You know, and that's something that I haven't spent a lot of time changing or adjusting, but you can definitely see when you go over there and you're like, man, these are getting hit a little bit harder than they were when I was in New York shooting those little razor blades, right? I mean, it's just a little different deal.
Well, it does make a difference on flight angle and stuff. And let's go back to what you said on the doubles, because I remember one year when I actually called Tommy and I said, hey, you know, what do you recommend? And he had done my barrels and they were fixed choked, and they were 18 and 28. And he said anywhere from that, like 15 to 20 and the 25 to 30-ish is perfect for doubles. He said anything over that, you're wasting it. And I remember when I got the Craig off, I tried a 35 second shot of doubles. Man, it'd leave a black spot out there, but you would occasionally miss one because it was a little tight. So then I backed it off to the 30, and it was like, okay, These are, and I shoot I shoot mod, which is 20 and 30, for doubles. And I seem to like that. I just, I've never been an open choke guy until I started shooting some sporting clays, because you can break a target, you know, but with an opener choke. But I really like that 20, especially when Rich Bollard's following me, and I leave that black dot on that first one out there for him to.
He doesn't like that. He's been calling me, telling me about it. He's been saying, Ricky's hitting that first target too hard. I'm gonna have to get off the squad. And I said, you might be off the squad,
well, that
but it ain't gonna be because of that.
Hey, he can leave. We'll get him replaced.
No, he's irreplaceable. He's my friend. I love him. But it's just so cool, getting to this side of it, Robert, because you're so passionate about what you do. Everyone can tell. And I've heard other people say already what a great job you guys are doing. And, also, I wanted to say thank you for the wonderful pins that you gave out for us running those events. Those pins are really cool. I actually might have them right here. This might be a spot where do you have them right there, Robert?
No, I don't have any.
It's okay.
That's all my wife. Leslie is awesome at marketing, and we make a good team here.
Ricky's going to get the pins right now, so he'll go get the pins so we could see them. But
I got them. They're sitting on my shelf to showcase, even though it's just me and my wife in here. But we showed them before, but I broke 100 the first time there, or actually it was in doubles, but I got the 100 straight Shotgun Works singles pin, which is badass.
They're cool
and
pins.
Then they are. And there's the 200. And then you've got the 100 straight in doubles. Now, I'm sure you got one made for 100 straight in handicap too.
Yeah. Actually, Britt Dalton has got one of those.
He's probably the first one.
Yeah.
But it's so cool. They come in these cases with the logo. And I mean, that logo is so cool, which we can see it in the background there with Robert on his tool chest. But yeah, I know Leslie, as you guys can see out on all the social media, Leslie's really been hammering the marketing stuff, which is what you got to do. I mean, it's the new technology.
She's doing a great job.
Good at it. Yeah.
You both are doing a great job, and we really appreciate it. Now, in addition to barrel work and choke tubes, is there any other services or products that Shotgun Works provides? Hats, T-shirts, towels, like any of that stuff yet, or coming down the road, or what's your full line of services?
Yeah, we have all that. We have shirts and hats and towels and all that kind of stuff. We messed around this past summer selling some stuff at some of the shoots, and it went well. But I also spent some time with Tom learning Perazzi release triggers. But and I get calls for those all the time, but I'm so busy with the barrels that I'm kind of having to bypass the release trigger work right now. The barrels are, they're keeping me plenty busy.
Yeah.
So maybe expansion in the future someday, and more things potentially, or just I don't know. I don't know how we can make two Roberts because we need more people working.
Hey, well, you get Leslie in the shop. Tell her no.
Yeah, exactly. And Brant will come down and help me in the shop.
So nice. Is there any exciting news coming down the pipe, or any new things that you want to let the listeners know about today, whether it's on the marketing side or on the product side or on the team side?
Not really. We're just we are showcasing, what we call top guns, and that's the people that have had our barrel work and, are All-Americans or, winning big events, things like that. And, just to kind of let the public know, that this barrel work does pay off.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I seen the first one you posted was Dagan, and
No,
obviously
Derek Mine was the first
Derek
one.
Mine, yeah.
Okay, I missed that one. I thought that was the first one I seen was
you were out to
Dagan.
lunch.
I might have been. I could have been at lunch. I'm not gonna lie about those facts. But what I will say is I didn't see the Derek post, but I did see the Dagan one. It was very, very well done and very well deserved. I think Dagan is very humble and one of the true ambassadors of the sports, and he's a great shot, obviously. And the only thing I'm kind of upset with is I thought he hit him pretty hard before, so now I got to see him hit him even harder. And I don't know how much more my ego can take, Robert. Like he's just gonna be just making little exclamation points out there in the sky all over the country. I mean, he didn't need any help, Robert.
Listen, Robert, you're gonna get in that classification like Justin Debris was selling Pilas to Dagan when he put him on the first time. He goes, "Wow, I can see the target better," and everybody standing there was like, and Justin was like, "Do."
We don't
out of here.
We don't need to help him out, Robert. He's got it figured out.
Yeah, no, he does. He's been fun to work
great.
with, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see
Yeah.
how he does with the different barrels.
Yeah, their whole family, the Voigtman family, are great people, and they're great ambassadors of the sport.
They are. I did Connor's barrels as well, and so far he really likes them too. Those guys get out there and they're practicing all the time.
Oh, listen, when Ryan Glow ran Omaha Gun Club, Harry Koch, they'd come out there nonstop and shoot, and Dagan, and he practices just like he shoots, So yeah, Dagan he's been kicking our butts the last couple years, which, I've been second and I'm not, that's he's a young kid, but very, very humble and just a great kid, So yeah, it will be interesting to see how he's shooting. You could have done a choke, Robert, that said full and put skeet on it. And listen, I'll give you a little bit of money if you do that to Zach's.
As long as that thing lays clouds out there, it could say skeet on it. It could say Zach Nannini super skeet, and then I'll pull it out and I'll show people. See, I shoot a skeet choke from the 27. I mean,
that would be funny.
Yeah,
we could get it done.
But no, and then so is it easy to get a hold of you? Shotgun Works is stuff on the website to they can fill out information there to send barrels in, or do they got to call and talk to you and get all that done first?
both. On the website, which is shotgunworksinc.com, it's got my cell phone's on there, and any customer can call anytime. We can talk. There is an order form that does help. Give me all the information so I can do the work and send it back to them. But always communicating with the customers when I receive their barrels and how long I'll have them and when I'm shipping them out. So try not to, I try to schedule it to where I don't have people's barrels for a long time. I'll tell somebody to get me that barrel on a certain day, 2 or 3 days later, it'll leave my shop.
Yeah.
And that's
fantastic.
Can attest
to that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I can attest to that firsthand. I talked to him a while back and he had a slot open. So I sent him, then boom, they show back up, and it was wow.
I think that's the hard part about any kind of custom shotgun work is the downtime. Like whether it's getting a stock made or whether it's barrel work or whether it's choke tubes or whatever it is. Something about us trap shooters, we're not very patient people. And apparently when you send something, you're like, hey, you call up and you're like, hey, I sent you that barrel yesterday. Is it done yet? And you're like, yeah, I haven't even got it yet. But it's just the expectation of everybody wants everything right now, instant gratification. And
Exactly.
The fact that you're being proactive on that, I think that's really going to help with your customer base for sure, because nobody wants to wait 10 weeks for a barrel.
No. Tommy always told me, he said, he says, you'd think that you're going to get busy in the off season, right? When people aren't shooting. He says, but they'll all wait till it's 2 weeks before the spring grand and decide they want their barrels done and want them by the spring grand.
Not only are they impatient, but they're procrastinators. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
They're both ends of it.
Now, do you plan on hitting quite a few shoots this next year too, Robert, or what's kind of your schedule?
Yeah, try to probably go to, the Spring Grand and Arizona State shoot. And then, we are building a new home and a new shop. So that might limit, some of the spring shooting. But we'll definitely this summer be, at the Grand and different places.
You going to come to the Western Grand, I presume?
Oh, yeah, that's vernal. We'll definitely be over there.
I'll be back there this year, or this new target year. I'll be back at the Western. I think Zach actually might come finally.
Yeah, it's not on the U.S. Open this year, so you heard it here first, folks. I have nothing keeping me out of the Western Grand and Vernal. It's a good time, and I love it. I love the way Sean runs the club. They throw a great target, and you can't really say enough good things about what they're doing there. So if you haven't been there, give it a shot. Question, Robert, I know you said you're going to some shoots. Are you actually bringing like a trailer set up for people to come and get stuff with at these shoots, or is it more just all online and order and that type of situation?
Yeah, mostly online, but we do set up a little booth at some of the shoots, and people can come and get apparel and a business card. And I'm glad to talk to anybody and try to educate them as much as I can on
Okay.
barrel work.
I love
Yeah.
that. A couple questions about shells, and then we'll get out of here. You said you adjust the barrels, you straighten them. Is there anything you do different for different shells? Like if I said, "Hey, I'm shooting Remington SDS," would you put it to that barrel exactly Remington SDS, or is it just any shell that's going to make them better? Rick, I really think that gun fit's probably the most important part of shooting big scores. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think gun fit is the most important thing.
I mean, most of the top All-Americans are shooting custom stocks. I know when I got my custom stock, my scores went up. I broke 100 straight from the 27 within 7 days. I mean, I'm sure your experience has been similar.
Yeah, I've been shooting a custom gun stock for 20 years. Winnig, if you want to win championships, get a Winnig gun stock.
Yeah, call Bobby, call Luke. I mean, we got the Stock Whisperer over there, Bill. Give them a shot. They're great, and they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Winnig.com. Check them out.
Hey, Rick, we got to take a second. We got to thank Outlaw Engineering and the Freston family for supporting Trap Shooting and supporting Trap Talk Podcast. They've been here for us. They're great people. You know them real well, Rick.
Yeah, I've known Randy since 1988, R2 and the family. They're a great supporter of the show. Coop just won the Autumn Grand Handicap Championship with a 97.
I know, I was there. I got to interview him. It was great. I was so proud of him. He's doing a great job. Hashtag where's Coop? He's somewhere with that big buckle. He's having
That's
fun.
right.
So,
That's right.
you need anything engineering related, get a hold of Outlaw. They'll take great care of you. Great folks.
Thanks for all the support, Outlaw.
Yeah, it's not that much of a science, but the Remingtons, the Federals, and Winchesters, and the good Fiocchis, all those that have the hard shot, that's what you really want to be shooting.
Good stuff.
Some of these guys that are buying shot that's soft and reloading, they can't expect that much, and some of the cheaper ammo has soft shot, and like I said, it gets deformed before it ever leaves the barrel, and it will not fly straight.
Interesting.
So that's a lesson. I guess if you put quality in, you're going to get quality out. And so if you're shooting, cheap shells, maybe if you have to do it, reserve them from practice or for, I would say, the close yardage games, singles and doubles, where it's not going to make as much of a difference. But if you're shooting at distance, I mean, you want as much maximum pellet count down range. You need to have it.
That high antimony.
That's correct.
Now,
yep.
let me ask you a question real quick on speed. So slower shells tend to pattern tighter, correct?
Yeah. And, faster shells will shoot lower.
Yes.
There's a in barrel time, they call it, right? So when you pull the trigger, the barrel does move up. There's a reaction to the explosion. And so a faster shell that gets out of the barrel quicker is going to be shoot lower, a lower point of impact than a slower shell.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes
I
a lot
always
of
knew
sense.
the back years ago when I used to shoot Federal extra lights, 7.5s, they patterned real tight. And then when I went to a light 8, they seemed to open up a little bit. So that's why.
And the eights, they don't have, they're not as heavy. Okay.
Yeah.
So they get affected by the elements more than a 7.5.
Yeah.
So would you, I mean, and this is putting you on the spot here, and I know there's no 100% right answer, but in your opinion, talking with Tom, if you could pick whether you shot 7.5s or 8s all the time, would you pick 7.5s? Would you pick 8s? Or would you mix them kind of like me and Ricky do, where you shoot 8s up front and then 7.5s from the back? Like what's the secret sauce here?
What you guys do, I believe, is best, and that's what I do as well. I do think, at the higher elevations like we are here, I think you could shoot a handicap 8 shell and be just fine. There's more BBs too, but I think when you get to the thicker air that you want, and you're shooting 27 yards, you want a 7.5.
Like down in Florida, like the Southern Grand Silver Dollar.
That's thick air.
That's real.
Sea
that's
level.
what people. Yeah,
Sea level.
because you're sea level and down there with that real thick air, so it makes a big difference.
It really does, folks. I mean, having the right choke, having the right shell, having that matters a lot. Gun fit, that matters a whole lot. Like these are
Oh yeah.
important things that are often glossed over, and I think they're glossed over because sometimes people maybe in a mindset where, well, I might not be good enough yet to notice those things. But I would really focus on ironing out your game and getting consistent, and then finding something that works for you and sticking with it. And that's I think there's a lot of changing going on in the game, and I've never seen a lot of changing produce a lot of success. It's more of finding the right secret sauce and then sticking with that secret sauce moving forward.
Exactly.
Well, Robert, we've covered just about everything there is to know about barrels and about you and your life. And I'm sure we could probably come on here and do another podcast episode just talking about your championships that you've won in your life and all the cool stories. But is there anything else you want to share with the listeners today before we get out of here? Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
No, I just I want to thank Tom Wilkinson, for training me and teaching me everything, and still being available today for anything that comes up. And he's the best compliment I could ever get is somebody to say that their barrel that I did shoots just like what Tommy did. That would be a huge compliment. And I want to thank my wife. We make a good team here with this new business. We're enjoying it. We're having a lot of fun, and look forward to seeing everybody at the shoots. And hopefully we can do some work for you.
Well, that's exciting news, and we appreciate everything you and Leslie are doing. You're definitely making a splash in the trap shooting world. People are wearing the gear, they're repping the pens, they're excited, and I think it goes back to excitement. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to bring excitement back to the game, however we can, get people interested, let people know that there's things to shoot for, and there's things that are becoming positive. And if you ever get to the point where you're shooting off for some, big grandiose trophy that we make at some shoots one day, you're going to want to have the right shells, the right gun, the right barrel work, all the right things, because nothing sucks worse than waiting for it to get good and then not being ready. So you gotta be ready to strike while that iron's hot. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know you could probably be working on barrels right now and getting ahead, because I know you're pretty stocked up on work to do. So we really appreciate you giving your expertise and your time to our listeners today, Robert. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you guys for what you do. This is exciting to the trap shooting world as well. It's a shame that we don't have interviews with Leo and guys like that, and Benias, to pick their brains. But from what you guys are doing the last few years, you're picking it up and moving forward and educating everybody on shooting.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun and stuff. And, too bad we couldn't have, Brant couldn't have been there with you. We could have got him on the show,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He'd have loved that.
He'd have tell some stories.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it is. We appreciate everything you're doing, and it is a lot of fun. People are talking about it because you guys, not only Zach, do they do it for trap. I mean, he does for every barrel, skeet, sporting, whatever.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It's
No.
making better patterns. So technically, if you wanted to do it with your hunting gun, to kill more doves and
Absolutely.
ducks and whatever, a better pattern's a better pattern, right, Robert?
Yes, sir. Yep. Now, a lot of the guns, I can't do anything with that have the hard chrome lined barrels. You can't get rid of that chrome, and so you're kind of stuck. You really can't do anything. Can't even put choke tubes in them if they're fixed choke guns now. Mostly is the Krieghoff, Perazzi, silver sights. We do all the silver sights, choke tube guns for silver sights.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Thank you, Robert, for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll have John throw a link up, either down there, up there, somewhere
It'll be
around
down
here.
below.
Yeah, down below. He's usually good at that. He handles it, and we'll look forward to staying in tune with your progress and what you're doing. And I'm sure we will probably end up having several of your shooters on the show. We've already had Derek and Dagan, but I'm sure we'll have them on again at some point in time to ask them questions about their smoke balls now. But like I said, it's going to be really cool to see, and we appreciate you. And that being said, we're signing off. Happy Friday. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, send in your questions. Wear your gear, whether it's Trap Talk gear or Shotgun Works gear, and be proud and get to a trap shoot soon. So we'll see you soon, folks.
Happy holidays, folks.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, folks, if you're wondering where you can get your merch, head on down to shop.traptalkpodcast.com.
Yes, folks, you can get hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts. They even have a ladies' tank, shooter's towels. We might have some new stuff coming out for the 2026 year. Who knows? Be prepared.
We got all the swag. Head on down to the website. Thank you so much for being Trap Talk supporter.
Thanks, everyone.